Hello and welcome to a new episode with the Success Grade podcast with me, Hussein Talib. Today I have with me Frank Smith. His passion is to have a place where people like to come to work on Monday mornings. Frank, welcome to the Success Grid.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Hussein.
Awesome. So, yeah, tell us a little more about you and what you do, because this culture of having people to come to work on Monday mornings is not everybody likes to do that, maybe.
That is right, yeah. Well, yeah, and the reason that I have such a passion for it is because I used to not like to go to work on Monday morning either.
Exactly.
I always tell people I knew what time it was on Sunday by how bad my stomach hurt because, it hurt a little bit at 3 in the afternoon, and then by 5 it hurt some more, and by 10 o'clock that Sunday night it really hurt because I was dreading going to work so much. So I've been there. I know what that's like, and it's not a fun place to be. And so really ignited my passion for how do you help businesses create a place where people want to come to work. And I think we're designed to work, and I think work can be very rewarding and fulfilling. And so I just really like to work with companies that try to make an impact on people's lives.
Great. So you are the founder of Mosaic Personnel?
I actually own Mosaic Personnel. It was started 20 years ago by another lady that started and had a company called Principal Technologies, and it was a recruiting company. And I bought it back in 2016, and we changed the name to Mosaic Personnel. So it's been around for a long time, but it's been under a different name. And now different leadership, and so I've been here since 2016, and so we recruit accounting, HR, IT, engineering positions, and try to help our clients find good people to work in their company. But then we also work with the company to help develop their leadership and develop the culture within inside the business, so that they do create a place where those new employees that we help them find actually like coming to work there.
Awesome. So aside the question, I learned that you like driving in general, right?
Yeah.
And you like cars and things related to cars, and you probably like Formula One racing, right?
Yes. Yep. I'm a huge Formula One fan.
Really cool, awesome. Who's your who's your best driver? Who's your
man,
do you support?
That's a tough question. I really like Lewis Hamilton, but it's easy to like the guy that wins all the time. So he's had a bit of an advantage with the Mercedes team and everything. And so, Max Verstappen is a great driver. I like Carlos Sainz, so I like a lot of the different drivers. Right now, I'm just really excited more about good competitive racing. In the last few years, it was always like, oh, I wonder how much Lewis is going to win by. And this year it's actually like, hey, Max Verstappen and him are going at it. And if you watched last week's race, it was classic Formula One racing. Came down to the very end of the race, and I won't say who won in case anybody hadn't watched it yet, because I have a lot of friends that record it and watch it, a week or two later. But anyway, so more interested in seeing a good competitive race than I am necessarily one particular driver that would win.
Cool. So back into your business and things that you like to do. So how do you actually drive happiness at work?
No, that's a great question. So, I kind of combined my love for Formula One and my love for business into that phrase, driving happiness at work. But really, it's all about caring for people in the workplace. I mean, if you really boil it down, good leadership, a good business culture is all about caring for the people that work for you. It's all about listening, and it's all about, making sure they have the tools they need to do their job. If I've asked you to do something and I've given you very clear instructions about what your job is and what success looks like, and then I come behind you and say, how can I support you? How can I, and I listen to what you need in order to do your job better. most people enjoy that much better. The work is an interesting piece, but if I come along and help support you, and then I help get to know you, and I understand about your family, and I understand what you like to do when you're not at work and what interests you, and I try to help incorporate some of those things maybe into the day-to-day job. So like if I find out that you enjoy traveling and that you like to see new places, if I have a project or a job that I'm going to go travel somewhere and work with a client out of state or across the country, and I know you like to travel and I need some extra help, well, I'm going to grab you and say, hey, come with me and let's go do this project together. If you don't like to travel, you would go, I don't want to go anywhere. But if I know you well enough that I know your interests, I can incorporate your interests in with your job, and you feel listened to and you feel appreciated. And those are really the key elements for trying to create an environment where people enjoy coming to work.
Good. So, but because in general, I do work in a corporate, and the things I see that the employees are working together, sit close together, but there is like no mutual interests because most of them has their own things that they're thinking about. You know what I mean. So it's not like. Do you consider working in companies really a family, or is it like everyone on their own world living in? Because what a happy team looks like and what a not so happy team looks like.
Yeah, I think family is a good word, and I hear that from a lot of my clients that say they have a really good work environment. They describe themselves very much as family. They're interested. They have different interests, just like, I have 3 kids. One of them likes to play soccer. One of them likes to play golf. One of them doesn't like to play anything. And that's okay. We're all still a family, and we still understand that about each other. And so inside an organization, where I find most leaders don't create the environment that I think is beneficial, is they just don't spend the time getting to know the team. They don't know it themselves, and then they don't bring the team together enough in order to get to know each other either. Like this next week, my whole company, and there's only 12 of us, so it's not a big group of people, but we're taking the whole team off site for a whole day. And we'll do some exercises where we get to know each other better. We'll focus on work. We're putting the plan together for the next 6 months of what are our top goals for the next 6 months. But we're going to do all that together. And that helps build that family type relationship that people want so much. That's a whole different experience than if I just come to you and say, hey, here's your goals for the next, 6 months. We'll see ya.
Yeah, but this is what happens. This is actually what happens. Even when someone new comes to the company and a new hire, they teach them very quickly and they put them into the work quickly. And basically, you need to just keep up with the work that you. And we'll see you at the end of the year, like we said at the evaluations. So this is it. This is
Yeah, and that's why people are so frustrated with work. Because that's not, as people, we need each other and we need to have that interaction. And just to put me in a cubicle or in an office or working from home, like so many people are doing now by myself, just accomplishing a list of tasks, that's not really very exciting for most people. And, and sometimes work itself isn't that exciting, but if you're doing it for a great purpose and a great vision of here's where we're going, here's how we're trying to help the world be a better place, that can get people excited and unify people as well. So like at our company, our purpose is to elevate life through work. And so we help people have a better life through their jobs, either by getting a better job or by creating a better environment for them to work in. And so we have a big board in our office just outside of the room I'm in right now that says lives impacted. And every time we put somebody in a new job or we train somebody new on how they can be a better leader, we change that number. And so right now, so far this year, we're at 98 lives that we have impacted. We've made life better for 98 people this year. And so my team gets really excited having that focus. And so some of the work we do is not super exciting, but if you know that, hey, this is to change somebody's life, and to get them in a better job where they can support their family better, or where they just feel like a better person because of the way they're treated at work. That gets our team excited, and those kind of purpose and mission helps focus a team moving forward. And that's where most companies kind of fall down, is they don't connect all those dots and get people moving in a unified direction.
So let me ask you: do you think or believe in the quote work-life balance?
Yeah, yes and no. You know, I think it's one of those situations where if you really love what you do, it doesn't feel most of the time when it feels out of balance is because I don't like this and it's keeping me from doing this.
Yeah.
And so, if work is something that I really get energy from and enjoy, and I feel like my boss treats me well, and I know my coworkers, working a little bit extra here and there really doesn't feel as imposing as it does. If I hate my job, I'm out of here at 5 o'clock. Don't talk to me till tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But if I like the people I work with and I like my boss, if you need me to stay till 6, I'm going to stay till 6. And so, again, there is a balance between, I can't neglect my family. I just personally, in my 30-year business career, I haven't been able to find that balance on a daily or weekly basis. This week, work may win. I might put in 50 or 60 hours this week. 3 weeks from now, I may take a Friday afternoon off and spend time with my family. And so it balances out, over time. And I always look at it more on an annual basis and say, did work get what they needed from me? And then did my family get what they needed from me? And if I can answer yes to both of those questions, I feel like that's pretty good balance. But there may have been some weeks where I was working late or at the office super early in the morning. And there may be other weeks where I'm out the door at 5 o'clock because I'm trying to get to one of my kids' activities or something that my wife has going on where she needs my help or whatever. And so I don't see it balanced on a daily or even a weekly basis necessarily, but I can look at quarters or annually and see where both sides got what they needed. So it was a good year.
Yeah, cool. Nice new perspective to things. At the end of the day, the important thing is that, let's say, both sides, the work and your life, got you in every good way, and everything got accomplished. Every chore, every work, every job, everything got done. This is the thing you're talking about here, right?
Yeah. Well, and a good example was 3 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with cancer. Oh, and, I took off quite a bit of time. We had to travel out of state for some surgery that she had to have. And family won a lot. I wasn't paying attention.
It's not. It's not something you neglect. It's not something that you keep out.
But so the family side won that year quite a bit. But earlier in the year, I had worked a lot, and so it balanced both sides. To your point, both sides got what they needed, and so it was good. It was out of balance. If you looked at any particular day, there was no balance on a certain time period, but over the course of a bigger picture, everybody got what they needed, including myself. I mean, you have to factor in time off and vacations and all that kind of stuff because we all need a break as well. So,
is your wife okay now?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, she's cancer-free and awesome. Doing great. But
awesome. Great to hear that. So you are a fan of workplace culture, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So how do we create a good culture in the workplace?
Yeah, the number one way is spending time with people. Just getting to know. I mean, as a leader, I think you should be meeting with the people that work directly underneath you every week and having some type of an interaction with them. Sometimes we talk about work, and sometimes there's nothing maybe that we need to talk about with work, but I'm going to ask you about your family and, hey, what's your vacation? How was it? Or where are you going? Or those kind of things, and just building a relationship. So the number one element to great business culture is a relationship, and people want to have a relation. I've never heard anybody quit their job that said, oh, my boss, talks to me too much and gets in, he asks me personal questions about my family and the soccer games my kids play in. Nobody ever quit because of that. But I know a lot of people that have quit their job because my boss, I talked with someone 2 months ago, and they quit their job because they had worked there for 2 years and their boss didn't know a single thing about them. And they were just, they moved on to work somewhere else. And so the number one thing in creating a great culture is relationships. And that's, me with the people that work for me, and then between the people that work for me too. They don't have to be best friends, but they need to know each other, and they need to know
a certain level. Yes. And,
it is, on Monday morning, you need to go, hey, how was your kid's baseball game, or, whatever. And, we're built for community. People are supposed to be together and have some type of a relationship. And the more you can foster that in the work environment, the better culture you're going to have.
Yeah, cool. So you mentioned people quitting. Why would someone quit their job? What would be some reasons, major reasons? Is it the paycheck, the salary? How do you see it?
Most of the studies that get, shown that you can look for information, the pay, once you get over, the very base minimum paying jobs, once you get above that, pay is usually somewhere between 4th and 7th place on that list. The top 3 reasons that people usually leave their jobs are: my boss didn't give me clear expectations. He didn't tell me specifically what I'm supposed to be doing and what he expects and what success looks like. The number 2 reason is my boss doesn't listen to me. And then the number 3 reason is my boss doesn't recognize me for the good work that I do.
Yeah, this actually happens a lot. I see that a lot. You mentioned working overtime, like until 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, and not even a thank you sometimes.
Yep.
So that's a big issue.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. People just want to know that you noticed. And, and a lot of bosses just, they don't, I don't want to start that because then they're going to expect, that I thank them all the time. Well, again, is there anything wrong with thanking somebody all the time? Thank you for your hard work today.
There's nothing wrong with thanking someone for a good day's work.
That's right. Yeah, nobody ever quit their job because, my boss thanks me all the time. I'm out of here,
So what are what do you see most companies go wrong at? Or is it in the leaders and in the HR departments where the companies go wrong?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the number one thing that I see companies do wrong is they don't spend enough time with each other. They view meetings as a negative thing. They try to get in and out of meetings really quick.
Because this is the problem. We mentioned meeting. A lot of meetings actually happened in corporate because something went wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there is no meeting unless something happened that was not in the best interest of the company. There is no like mentioned weekly meetings, for example, to set targets, to see what employees are missing, to see what they need. Always, most of the time, meetings happen because some employee screwed up at something.
Yep. Yeah. No, and that starts off the whole process wrong. Our team, every Monday morning, we have a staff meeting at 8:30 in the morning. And the first 15 minutes of that staff meeting, all we talk about is, hey, what'd you do over the weekend? Did anybody do anything fun? Did anybody watch anything good on TV? And we're just, having that relationship building time. And most people miss the fact that one of the important things about meetings is to build relationship. And it's, there are times, yes, we need to get in and make a decision and fix a problem that happened. That's a valid reason for a meeting. But we also need to spend time in that meeting building relationship. And so that's the number one thing I see people do wrong is they don't spend time with people enough. Outside of work in our personal life, we understand if I'm going to have a friend, I've got to spend time with that person to get to know them and all that. In the work office, it's the same way. You need to spend time with them. So that's the number one thing I see companies do wrong. The number two thing I see companies do wrong, you mentioned the HR department. The leaders delegate to HR the culture, and they say, you guys go fix it and make a good culture. You can't create a good culture from the HR department. The leadership has to be the one that creates the culture and says, this is what's important to us. And this is how I want everybody in the organization to feel when they work here. And that has to come from the leadership, because HR doesn't have enough authority in order to create that. If it's not coming from the leadership, you're going to have kind of, people may try it, but if the leaders aren't doing it too, then it feels hypocritical and it doesn't feel sincere.
Yeah, exactly. HR are usually far away from especially in big businesses and big corporations. HR are mostly far away and don't know how things are operating in certain sections and departments. So yeah, like you mentioned.
Yep.
Exactly. So how important is culture? Because is it like, does it affect the business growth and does not define the business profitability? Does this all affect the business net profit at the end of the year, for example?
It does, and there's a lot of good new studies coming out, and finally some big schools like Harvard and places like that are actually studying this, and they are seeing that companies that have a really good culture actually financially outperform companies with a bad culture. If you have a bad culture and people are leaving the company a lot, that costs a lot of money to replace all of those people and retrain people. And so if you can keep people in their seat because you've created a great culture, you can save the company thousands and thousands of dollars for a lot of different reasons. One is, if you've been with the company for 8 or 10 years, you've got a lot of knowledge up here that's helpful. If I have to replace you every 2 or 3 years,
that's maybe lower salary, but the rotation of employees is exhausting sometimes to keep new people learning again and again and again, and the department recycles employees and turnovers. It's no stability becomes in certain departments. Maybe I see that actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it in the fast food industry in America, the turnover rate is about 300%. That means you're changing people every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why it's not great service.
I actually worked in McDonald's. And you see that because, I don't know, maybe the work is hard, especially the more you see it now, younger people nowadays, they don't, I don't know, maybe they don't work as hard as as the older ones used to work in the old days, in the 80s and 90s or the early 2000s. Now people are more on social, so they don't want to work that much maybe. So when they go to work and start working, they are like, maybe, I don't know, maybe they are shocked because of the type of work they do, how much pressure there is, the customers here and the customers calling and the manager is calling, too much noise maybe for them. Maybe this is one of the reasons that these type of industries are overwhelming some people.
Yeah, but what I would say is you do find little pockets at a McDonald's. If it's run really well by a really good manager, they don't have some of those same problems, and then, there's different companies in fast food. And if they train their people really well and they invest and they listen and they try to interact with their team better, they actually still, even in fast food's not that exciting, but you can see where companies that actually do it well and take an interest in the employees actually still get really good results.
Yeah. So you mentioned, we are talking about here about employees leaving. So when employees resign from a company, do they leave the company itself as a whole entity, or do they leave the people who are there working with?
Yeah, they leave the leadership because that's who dictates what the company's like. I know a lot of people that may not love their actual work, but they love the people that they work with, and they think they have a really good boss. They'll stay in that job even if they don't like the actual work that much, because the people side of it is more important. And so when people leave a company, they're not leaving, ABC company. They're leaving either I've got a bad boss, or the top leadership is creating a culture that is a place I don't want to work. And so they leave that, not the actual company itself.
Good. So how would you think is the best way to handle conflicts in work? Because there could be a lot of conflicts, a lot of issue, a lot of arguments between employees themselves, between employees and managers and stuff like that. What is the best way to deal with conflicts at the workplace?
Yeah, wow, we could spend a week talking about that. That's the hardest part. What I would say is the thing for me that helps the most is to be curious. If I see that you're upset about something, let's be curious about that. Hey, Hussein, why, wow, you seem to be upset. Tell me a little bit about what got you upset. And I could ask you that question, and then I listen to understand. And that way, versus just, hey, calm down, get over yourself, whatever. That's not helpful. But if I stop and I take the time to listen to you and really try to understand what made you upset, or how did I hurt your feelings, that's how you fix conflict in the workplace. Again, it gets back to people want to be listened to. And if I'm not listening to you and I don't understand, why you got your assignment done late, or why, this or that didn't get done, or why you were kind of snippy with me, get curious about those things and ask a good question and say, tell me why you're reacting that way. And so, but all that takes time. And that's where, again, it circles back for me every time. Almost all of this circles back to, if you and I are going to have a relationship, I've got to spend time with you. And, we may have a conflict along the way, but if we know each other well, I'm going to be more understanding of you, and I'm going to listen more and try to figure out how can I help you. And so I think it all boils down to curiosity and time.
Great. So what would you think, what would you say, one takeaway from what we were talking about here?
The biggest takeaway is, if you're not spending 30 minutes a week with people that work directly under you in the organization, you're not spending enough time with the people on your team. You have to figure out how to fit that into your schedule. And if you have too many people, I think the most people that a supervisor can manage is around 9, maybe 10 people. But again, if I'm going to spend 30 minutes with each of those people, that's 5 or 6 hours a week that I'm going to spend in one-on-one meetings with these people. But that's my job. I'm a leader. That still leaves me, if I'm working 45 hours this week, that still leaves me 40 more hours to get other stuff done. But I've got to dedicate that 5 hours to meet with my team and to understand them and what they need and how I can help them get their job done. And if I do that, I fix 90% of the problems in the workplace.
Great. Awesome. So, Frank, where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is probably an easy place to get a hold of me. Frank Smith on LinkedIn. I do a video series. Every Tuesday, I launch a new video about business culture. They're 60 seconds long, most of them, so I try to keep it really short with just one point. It's called Driving Happiness at Work is the name of the video series, but you can find that on LinkedIn. You can email me at fsmith@mosaicpersonnel.com, or you can message me on LinkedIn. Those are the best two places. So the email is fsmith@mosaicpersonnel.com, or just look me up on LinkedIn and message me through LinkedIn.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Frank, for being here today with me on the Success Grid podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.